Hey guys, it's Katie and this is My Life with VEDS. Today I'm going to talk to you about my transient ischemic attacks or mini strokes in a nutshell. I had 5 of these over a year period and it really produced a lot of fear and anxiety for me, especially like it was coming off the tail end of my diagnosis. I was diagnosed with VEDS in May of 2017, and in December of 2017 I had my first mini stroke. And it was December 21st. I woke up in the middle of the night and my stomach was a little bit upset, so I went to get some water and get some famotidine, which is like Pepsid, which is what we had used my entire life up to this point to treat any kind of stomach issue. That was what I grew up with, and that is a separate topic. I go and get some water. I get the Pepsid, I'm walking back into my bedroom, and all of a sudden I am on the floor. The room was spinning really fast, and my whole left leg from like the waist down, it just felt like it was gone. It was numb, I couldn't feel it, and if I tried to move it, it just kind of flopped. Like it wasn't like flopping regularly, but if I tried to move it, it didn't do much. It was like my body was like, okay, I'll move it, or okay, I'll move it this way. I also had trouble seeing out of one side of my vision, not the eye, but the field of vision, which means like if you cover one eye or cover the other, it doesn't matter, that field of vision was gone for me, the right side part of it. All of this happens in a second. I am on the ground and my leg is gone. My right field of vision is gone, the room is spinning, and I realize that I'm having a stroke. I tried to call for my neighbor a couple times because I knew he would stay up late and play video games, and I lived in an apartment complex, and he didn't hear me or he was sleeping. So I had to crawl to my phone, which was all the way across the room, on the other side of the room. I'm crawling, dragging my leg behind me. Another thing was that everything was wet, and I thought maybe I had like urinated on myself or something because I couldn't feel anything down there, and I had forgotten about the water. I get to my nightstand and I grab the cord to the phone to pull it down onto the ground where I can reach it. So I'm kind of on the ground, hovered over this phone, or huddled over the phone, and I'm trying to call 911. I have an iPhone. At the time I was doing immersion learning for Swedish. I had just traveled to Sweden. I really enjoyed learning Swedish, and I loved having my phone in Swedish. It was just a lot of fun and a challenge to think about different words to say to your phone to get it to do stuff. However, I was not confident that I would say, "Hey Siri, call 911" in Swedish and have it work. I couldn't remember the name for the number 9. I was trying to dial it on my phone, and I couldn't see very well, and I'm not sure if there was something wrong with this hand or if it was just not being able to see, but I kept hitting the wrong button. So if you've got the phone screen up, the number pad, and I'm trying to hit the button that says call, because it gives you an option to do favorites or recents or contacts or the number pad. And I guess I kept hitting, instead of the dial, I kept hitting the recents or the contacts because it kept wanting to call a coworker or text a coworker. So I would hit a button, I thought it was the right button, and then a text message for one of my coworkers would come up, and nope, that's not it. So I'm trying to remain calm because I have to call 911 to get an ambulance. So then I managed to get to the number pad, and 941 is what I dialed twice. I had to think about, okay, if my hand is trying to go here and it's hitting over here, what do I need to do to correct it? Like, I'm trying to do this while I am having a medical emergency. I call 911 finally, and they pick up, and I tell them, this is my name, this is where I live, and I'm having a stroke, I need an ambulance. When I got to the hospital, everything had really resolved, and the scan showed nothing. They diagnosed it as a mini stroke, and we went through a lot of follow-up testing to see if we could find the cause for it, and we really didn't find one. I was kind of left to, okay, it's probably never going to happen again. It might have been just a fluke. Maybe something happened in your artery that we can't see with the scan, and maybe we're limited by the sensitivity of the scanner. And I accepted that. Like, that was something that made sense to me, and that was fine. I have another one like May 2nd, I think it was. Same thing happened, except this time it was the right side of my body. I got up at a normal time. I went into the kitchen. I was making my coffee, and then I was down on the ground. Room was spinning. Whole right side of my body was gone, like that numb spaghetti kind of limb thing where if you try to move it, it just feels like spaghetti. They didn't find anything at that time, and they told me that maybe I had just stood up too fast in the morning, and maybe that caused it. I never had a problem with getting up in the morning, but I said maybe that's possible, and I took longer to get out of bed. I waited 5 to 10 minutes every morning. I sat on the end of my bed just to give my body some time to adjust, and then I got out of bed. I had another one on Mother's Day, less than 2 weeks later. Got up in the morning. I had waited 10 minutes on the edge of the bed. I went to the bathroom. I'm using the bathroom, and I have one. And that was the first time that I really cried hard about it, like that I kept having these issues. I went to the hospital that time, and they did not even do a scan at that time. They just said, well, it's so similar to the other one. Maybe you're just taking, too short of a time to get up in the morning, and you should wear some compression socks before you go to bed at night. And that way in the morning, your blood gets to your head, and when you're walking around, it's not a big issue, and then you can take them off. And that is when I really became very, very fearful after that third one, because it was associated in my head, because of what they had told me, with me doing something to cause it by getting up in the morning. After that third mini stroke, I spent a long time in bed every morning before I would get out of bed, and I would sit on the edge of the bed for a while, and I would be afraid to get out of bed, and I would stand up, and then I'd get so anxious that I would sit back down, and sometimes it would take me an hour and a half to convince myself that I needed to get up. I was very, very scared, and it was not a good way to live. I was doing the compression socks and everything that they asked me to do, and I had talked to my doctor about it, and we increased my salt intake. So then I was taking a high salt diet. I had another one a couple months later, and that was the worst one. I was in a boat with my friends, and I got out of the boat and I was swimming, and then I got back in the boat, and all of a sudden my left leg went completely numb again. My right arm was completely gone. The boat was spinning. All of this was numb, like my abdomen. I remember laying in the boat and like tapping on my abdomen with my left hand as we were heading back. I'm laying in the boat having this problem. Again with the vision, like every one of them had the reduced vision on one side. And I could not get a doctor to take this seriously at this point, because I had had 4 in about 7 months, 6.5 months. And every time they resolved themselves, I was on the compression socks, I was on a high salt diet, and everything would just come back normal. When they would do a scan, there was no new dissection in there. The neurologist didn't think that where my existing dissection was could cause that issue, because it was in the wrong side of the brain to cause a 2-sided mini stroke. Depending on where in your brain you're having an issue, you can have one-sided, you can have both-sided. The room spinning is very particular to a middle, like the brainstem area, can cause both sides, and that's what a neurologist told me. In September of that year, I stopped wearing the compression socks because I said, this is a load of crap and I'm not doing this anymore. This was right after I was gonna have a tilt table test, and then the cardiologist, like, I am in the tilt table and telling them, wait, I have vascular EDS. I'm not sure about this like spike of adrenaline and stuff that you guys are going to pump into my body. And they're like, yeah, maybe, if you're afraid of it, then we probably shouldn't do it. So then I asked him, like, I will do it if this is going to make me have a mini stroke, and we can definitively say, like, when I stand up, it's causing me to have a mini stroke. I will do this tilt table test because I am so done with having these. And he looked at me and said, this isn't gonna make you have a mini stroke. This is gonna make you pass out because you've been passing out. I was not passing out. I hadn't been passing out. I hadn't passed out during any of my TIAs. And I said, I'm not passing out. I'm having mini strokes. He said, well, then we're not gonna do this test. Then I felt like POTS was kind of off the table. as a cause for these mini strokes, which made me feel a lot better. So then we had a heart monitor implanted after that. I also had a doctor consider migraines. I talked to a stroke neurologist who said these are not consistent with hemiplegic migraines, so you really should not be thinking about those. I really felt like these were mini strokes still. And I had another one, December 7th. I woke up in the morning, I was drinking my coffee like I normally do, and I have very bad allergies. I sneezed hard 3 times and had a mini stroke. And after that time, I went to my neurologist and I said, hey, here's a list of all of the rare reasons of recurring mini strokes. Can we run all of these tests, please? And he did. And he added on there like all of the clotting issues. And we found that I had high fibrinogen, which is inarguably related to strokes. A stroke neurologist told me that that was related to strokes. Another stroke neurologist said that's related to strokes. If she has stroke symptoms and she has high fibrinogen, then she should be treated as if she's having strokes. Then after that, I started taking 2 doses a day of baby aspirin. And now it has been over a year since my last mini stroke. It seems to have solved the issue. So we just kind of agreed that there was something in my vascular system that was throwing a clot into my brain, and we just could not see it on the scanner. Must have been so small that it was just something we couldn't find. That's my TIA story in a nutshell. It's been over a year now since my last one, and I've adjusted a lot better to feeling more comfortable in the morning again, and I'm not on a high salt diet anymore. I think that some of that probably inflamed my system and made whatever was underlying worse. But at the time, people were treating it like it could be a POTS issue, and that's, we did the high salt for that issue, and it was very frustrating. I'm glad it's over. Thank you for listening to me talk about my mini strokes. It's a very sensitive topic for me because it did cause so much fear and anxiety during that time. If you've had these, I'm sorry. They're very, very scary, and you're not alone. So thanks for listening, and that's it. I'll see you later.